I'm John. Welcome. If everybody is appreciating the humor here, I'm all done. I can take this off. I will wear it for labs later on, but not today. I've always wanted to have a lab coat. Makes me feel special. The reason for Professor Plum is I taught at the Great River Christian School. Started 12 years ago. Taught there for 7, science and math. And when I got there, they said they'd paint my room. Old school, big, everything. And I said, well, I looked at a chart thing and I said, well, like this and this and this. And so they painted it. When it was all done, it was ugly. Because one of the colors was plum. And so we repainted it, got rid of the plum, and it was fine, but they always called me Professor Plum. So we're delighted you're here to take a chance on science and math. Always a little scary topic. I was an average student, below average in some ways, and honor roll, maybe in high school, but never younger. And it just gradually, science and math just gradually accumulated, and finally, like the light bulb went off, and I got it. And then it became a joy to learn. But I also appreciate those that are absolutely petrified of math because of a poor experience. But it's never too late. Math never ends, and we use math every day. Fellowship. Piece of paper. I've got a piece of paper here somewhere. This is yours to keep. I may try to follow it. Anybody take a vacation this year? Yeah? Pretty miserable, was it? Did you get stuck or overheated or spent too much money?
Sunburned, maybe.
Or sunburned, yeah. Our vacation is wonderful. Don't mean to be sarcastic, but no. I do need to borrow somebody's. Oh, there's one right here. No, that's not it either. Is there an extra one, or do we have exactly 15? Do you have an extra one? Okay, thank you. So, well anyway, if you took a break, that's good. Anybody bought an appliance over the summer? Yeah? How's that? Heavy?
Yeah, I didn't have to move it.
Okay. Was there math involved in the decision to buy an appliance?
Absolutely.
Especially the price tag? And then anybody have an emergency room visit this
On
year?
vacation.
Yeah. That in conjunction with the vacation.
Yeah.
And so prayer becomes very real during emergency room visits. Sports. How many of you have your kids in sports this summer? On what date this summer did you realize that you were done? Never?
We just go all summer.
No, you realized that you were ready for it to be done. How many had a broken vehicle that needed repair? A nail in the tire. Who goes around putting nails on the road? I did. Did you hear cicadas at your house? Anybody? 3-day life of food, music, and reproduction. That's all it is. Thunderstorms. Anybody have water in your basement?
No, but we had the wind. Oh, we had the wind in the water.
The harp. Yeah. Are you in the harp too?
Yes.
That was a mess over there.
It is still a mess.
And you learn about patience and stuff.
Yes.
Anybody have a date with your spouse this summer? Okay. Make it happen, number one. Make it happen. And anybody make something, a craft or a doghouse or a roof or anything? Well, your hand was up for everything, Aaron. That's good. You are. That's wonderful. All right. Well, that's our official fellowship. Okay, now stop smiling. Let's get serious. I'd like to read Psalm 19. I'm John. I'm from Burlington. Our granddaughter, Olivia, is in the 2nd grade. And my daughter-in-law is Nancy, who helps out here a lot. And I was here 5 years ago to help out for a year. And then I decided the Lord wants me back here. So 62 miles door to door. So I'll be here 2 days a week. This is Psalm 19. The heavens are telling the glory of God, and the firmament proclaims his handiwork. Day to day poureth forth speech, and night to night declares knowledge. There is no speech. There are no words. Their voice is not heard, yet their voice goes through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. Isn't that something? You got English, and science, and poetry, all in one crafted little verse here. A Psalm of David. I wonder if David was sitting out looking at the stars when he thought of this. It's always been fascinating to me, science and math. Shall we pray? Lord God Almighty, good morning. We praise you for the rain that gives us our food, and for your word, which brings us eternal life. Open our hearts and minds this hour in our studies to receive your nourishment. We ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Learning comes in so many areas. Your children are born to learn. Whether we kill it or not, or take away the joy or whatever, they're still learning and they want to learn. And our job is to make it the most palatable, engaging, far-reaching, enlarging abilities possible. And it takes work. I'm new to classical. I studied it 5 years ago. I've studied it off and on. I'm getting ready to really dig in now. And it's going to be probably the hardest thing in my life is to retool for classical, asking the right questions and making sure that the student works harder than the teacher. For too many years, I think I was teaching too hard, and the kids were just filling out answer sheets and stuff. That's not it.
Amen.
A little enthusiasm from a teacher, a preacher, a mom or dad will go a long way to meet your educational goals for your family. All right, I want to give some definitions here. What is math? Math is misery. No, math is dealing with properties and manipulation of numbers. Real quick, what is science? Science is the knowledge gained, on page 5. Science is the knowledge gained from a systematic study of nature, using observations, experiments, inferences, and models to be good stewards of the earth and to care for humanity. These are my definitions. I don't have a definition for art, but we have somebody here, Miss Erin, I can put you on the spot. What is art, really? What is really art?
Okay.
We didn't rehearse this. I know her now.
Being a major of art, I can give you all kinds of, there's principles of art and there's all kinds of things, but really, art is supposed to incorporate light, color, line, form, shape. So if you have accomplished a drawing or whatever and you've gotten those types of things in there, then it's supposed to be art. But really art is everything that God has created,
Everything, yeah.
right?
And it's beautiful.
And it's beautiful, supposedly.
Does it feel, and is it designed, or when we do art, is it something deep inside of us that's expressing itself?
It definitely is an expression, and they say that the best art is the art that leaves you with thought, leaves you with questions, leaves you with, you're remembering that. The next day you wake up and you're still thinking about it. That's usually what society says is good art.
Thought-provoking.
Very thought-provoking. Mm-hmm.
Since that's the area I really can't talk about, I'll open it up to anybody else who wants to talk about art. How does it fit into your lives and into the education of your children? Sunsets and colors and drawings. We're going to sketch in science. Any of the moms or dads here, if you wouldn't mind, my class, ask the families to get a little notebook that has no lines on it. We're going to use it for sketching.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And my opinion of students coming in to sketch, they come in with a whimper and they leave with a smile, because it's part of who we are. I think the hand is meant to doodle. My wife doodles and I never did, but she's a doodler and she says, that's how I learned. Doodle, that's wonderful. So art is it's all the above, and I thank you. and I owe you dinner or something. For putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
You can buy me a donut.
Donut. Okay. Let's go back to, I'll get done what I can get done. I think we're fine for time. And anytime you want to ask a question or a suggestion, go for it. We'll start with math, page 2. It has a glorious history of people discovering order in the universe. It becomes a tool. Math is the queen of science, it is said, and it is a tool to accomplish our goals in life, in society. About every job you're in uses math. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir. You may know in James chapter 1, that's our memory verse for the year. You already knew that? So who's got it memorized?
That's still enough. You should.
You did that before.
Right.
I worked really hard now. I've had this for I knew for 2 weeks ago, so I worked really hard. So here's what I got. James.
We actually had to memorize that in homeschool, the entire book of James. Two of her boys and one of mine. So I should know it, but the whole book.
The whole book?
The whole book. And they did. I'm sure they can't anymore.
That's powerful, really. So anyway, there's my contribution. I did this thinking about it, and I said, this is our school memory thing for the year. Is there math and science in James? Well, look. Just look. It's right there. Isn't that incredible?
That really is.
You get to teach your children this. It's not just memorizing, it's you're getting saturated with the word. It becomes, it's the bread you eat, it's the air you breathe. And in school, I mean, I would say the biggest difficulty is people say, oh, I just got to get my homework done. And we're missing it. We're missing the beauty of God's creation. So I'm all about the order and the beauty and the discipline and all that. Okay, so that's use it for any way you want to. That is the ESV if you choose. My wife and I are grilling on that every night, trying to get it done before school starts. Okay, the advice of classical. There's a book I was supposed to read and I read it, and this is the main point I got about math in the terms of classical education. It must be incremental, which means step by step. It must be cumulative. It must always go back and pick up the beginning and go forward. If there's somewhere along the line something's missing, you're missing it. You got to go back and get it. So everything's woven into the early years. So critical. Do we have any real young teachers or children, moms of real young ones here? Mm-hmm. So math is it. I mean, at some point you already taught them how to count, right? Mm-hmm. And so keep going, never ends. There must be no bad years in math. Get the help needed over the summer. I'll be happy to tutor anybody in math or science over the summer. If there were emergencies during the school year and the guy or gal checks out for a little bit, just get it back somehow after school or whatever. Never tell a student who does poorly, relax, George, fractions are behind you now. So horrible. And then review. Okay, this one I've been saving for years. In Burlington, there were signs out by the Taco John, and there it is. This is called opportunity. You're driving down the road, you see that, and a light bulb should go off, and you got your kids right where you want them. Tell them to turn off all their appliances and stuff and say, look at that sign. What's wrong with that sign? Class, what's wrong with that sign? How much is the taco?
99 cents.
99 cents.
Well, it's like the
Do we
period,
have
99
any-
cents. You
do we have
don't
any-
need the period or you need the dollar sign without the cent sign.
Do we have any alternate views here?
There's multiple tacos are 99 cents.
Come on, I wonder how much does one taco cost? What's it say?
Tacos, plural.
It says plural, you can get more than one taco.
Well, plus tax too.
Huh?
It's not 99 cents, it's plus tax. So.
Does that say 99 cents?
Yeah, not really.
How many say yes? How many say no? How many are in the wrong class and want to go somewhere else? I did not sign up for this.
It's less than 1 cent.
It's less than a cent. Look at it. It's less than a cent. If it's a, see that decimal point?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. That decimal point says it's a tenth of something. It's 99 hundredths. And then the cent says that's of a dollar. So you got the exact same information on both ends. And that thing is 99 hundredths of a cent.
We're eating cheap tonight.
There you go.
Penny per taco, or for multiple tacos.
So, I pulled into the taco guy and I said, all right, load me up. He goes, oh. I said, it's less than a penny. He didn't get it.
He probably couldn't count change back to you either, so.
Yeah, agreed.
It's cultural. In Mexico and Central America, they write it like that. It's cultural.
Do they?
Yes, so it's culture. It's not their fault. It's culture. Yeah.
But it's still, and it's still
But
costs.
here it's different. You know, it's just it's
So
cultural.
even with
It's
that,
just-
you'd still have to pay 99 cents?
yeah, it's just it's cultural. We had this discussion with my husband too. He says the same thing. I'm like, what are you talking about?
See?
Yeah.
Stimulate. We're here to stimulate ideas. That's good. Okay, so you got that one. So if opportunity, if you're going down the highway, I'm gonna pay sure, if you go down the highway and you see, talk about opportunity, look at this. How do we subtract 99 from 201? You don't do it the long way, you know. Look what it says on the right side there. Use estimating. 200, 100, so we know there's 100 miles difference, plus you got the one above and the one below, you add those up, you get 1 and 2. That's how to me, that's classical, that's how to think. Use your tools. Any math guy want to comment on this? Anybody want to say anything?
It helps.
Yeah, I tell the kids, you own this. This is your math, make it work for you. You are its master, it is not the master of you. Sometimes it gets through. Okay, Sudoku, anybody get it?
I do these all the time.
Okay, super, I don't know what the answer is. But talk about stimulate, and does anybody need a quick on what Sudoku is?
You already do it.
Well, yeah. Huh?
Hers is done. I don't do Sudoku.
Well, you don't have to.
Well, how are you supposed to do it?
Well, that's what Jenny's going to teach you right now. All right, your turn. I need a breath of water. Somebody teach them how to do Sudoku.
All right, Amy, come on.
Yeah, and there is a number, okay, so each box, like the first one on the left, there is a 2 in the upper right. So all 4 of those has to be 1 through 4.
Oh, it's 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep, and then the top line has to have 1 through 4, the next line down has to have 1 through 4, the next line down 1 through 4, the next line down. And then up and down has to have 1 through 4. So like each set of boxes, there's 3 different sets, has to have 1 through 4. And it sounds really complicated, but when you're looking at it, you can infer that, for example, if you bring the 2 straight down, then the only box left for a 2 would be under the 3. So it cancels that line
that makes
out,
sense.
because there's
Yes,
a 2 there already, so you can't put another 2 in that line. So then under the 3 would be 2. It's like a process of elimination. And you have to think about, you have to go every which direction to get it
There's
sometimes.
nothing in this box that needs 1, because there's already 1. Right.
So it has to be 1, 2, 3 across and down, you're saying?
Yes.
And in the
And
box,
in each little.
in each box also. So like this here,
Square.
4 squares,
Oh.
and they also have
This
to
one
have
you
1
can't
through
have
4 in them.
So 1 has to be over here.
I'd always use a pencil.
Yeah, I know, I'm
I always use a pen.
It's just a simple process of elimination. A lot of times if you get stuck, there's something that you're missing.
Oh, because the 3's already over.
Because you have a 3 here.
Yes, and a 3 here.
So is the bottom right, is it 3, 1, 2, 4, like that?
Close.
No. I thought you said the 2 goes under the 3,
It does.
It is.
but then that's not,
So it's just processing.
because,
You're not gonna be able to get the 4 on the 1 yet until you figure out where other 4s on the
Yeah.
1.
More challenging.
so I have to transpose the 4 and the 1 there.
But how do you know that? You have to have a reason for
Because you said I was
knowing.
close and that's the only other option. That's my process of elimination.
Like your brain has to say, okay, I know this can't go here because this is crossing this out. So then you have to figure out where it can go.
I didn't,
You have to know.
yeah, I didn't figure out my other, I guess 1 can't go there, so,
If you don't have a reason for it, then you can't put it there.
because you're using logic to,
Yes.
Aha. So what are we learning about learning here? What's going on with Sudoku? What value does it have in education?
Why don't you tell us? Train your brain to
It's
think.
an entire processing.
Uh-huh. Dr. Day, is this deduction or induction?
This one, Sudoku, I say, I think. It would be deduction.
Yeah, deduction. Yeah. Science is induction, and sometimes it's deduction, but this is pure deduction. Stuff can't be. You can't have a 1 underneath a 1. That's deduction. You take away that possibility. Yep, that's good. Well, I recommend this. How many of you feel, since you walked in the door, how many of you feel alive now? Your brains are just cooking on all cylinders. And who's ready to go to town? Who's ready to go to the coffee shop? Oh, I can get out of here. Okay.
Who's got a headache?
But that's what I do with kids. I try and just, jumpstart them, and every once in a while, it's just beautiful to sit back and just watch your brain just humming right along and ask the right question here and there. Okay, bottom of 3. Now what I've got is, from me to you, exact, specific ideas for math manipulatives. Manipulative means touch, in your home, to stimulate ideas to use math. And you'll see a lot of this right there. You probably already do. Use them. You're already teaching analog clocks, if there are still any around. Yep. There's a lot of learning in there, okay?
The meters especially, because it's a hard concept for kids to go from 12s to 10s.
Yeah.
When they learn 12s first, and vice versa.
I knew an engineer that said he wishes we were 12, age 12. It's so much easier. One of the reasons why is there's so many, I can't think of a math guy, I can't think. There's more factors in 12 than there are in 10. 1, 12, 3, 4, 2, 6. They do a lot. Okay, so coins. How many know what count back change means? From the old days? Okay. Ms. Watkins, can you explain what count back change is?
So like if
Hard
the,
math.
if the item is like 290, I'll make it easy. If that's how much you have to pay and you pay with the or the person pays with the 20, then you start with the dime and say, okay, now we're at $3, and then ones we get up to 4 or 5, like the 2 ones, 10, and then a 5 to get to the 10, and then a 10 to get to the 20,
So we have a 10 center, and then a
and then
2
2
ones,
and then a 5 and a 10.
and then a 5, and then a 10.
Yeah,
Okay, she's counting up from the cost.
yeah.
This is what the store wants from you. This is what you give. And so the difference, which you can do in your head if you want, but why? All you have to do is just count up from 290, find the right coin to keep bumping up to the next number, next tens. See, 10 cents makes $3? This is how it's actually spoken. The person will say $3, $4, $5, $10, $20. And when she says $20, she's acknowledging that the amount you gave it is balanced by the value of the item plus the money she just gave you. So all of this is $20, and that's the $20 you gave, and that's the transaction. That's called counting back change. You don't need a calculator.
I'm telling you, kids cannot do this.
No.
I make my kids go into the gas station and pay for things, and then I teach them how to count it back after, because the teller never, or the cashier,
They don't have to
Never.
anymore.
The only person that does this every single time is old man Richard at the postmaster at the post office.
Or like a farmer's market sometimes she'll.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. The Amish will count back that way to
Well,
you.
and sometimes concession stands like at ballparks will do, like if you get somebody in there that.
If there's an adult.
That wants to do.
Yeah.
Well, we started making it mandatory in Rushville that you can't work concessions if you can't count back change.
Sure.
So like it leaves kids out of it.
That's a great.
And before the age of computers, where you did have to count back change, there were a lot of swindlers. And actually, I wasn't a victim because I figured out what was going on, but the guy was talking so fast, like that, trying to miss me up on a $10 bill. And that really happens once in a while. And it's, yeah. Quick? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like,
I had another thought, but it's gone. So the myths are you and your child owning the education experience. Okay, just for devotion, we won't go over it, but math in the Bible, I sat there in worship one day listening, and I came up with this question, is there math in the Bible? And sure enough, it just spills right out, just everywhere, everywhere. Addition is another word, you can teach your children, addition is combining, subtraction is separating, multiplication is working with groups, and division is the reverse of multiplication, it's breaking something into groups, and division, of course, is breaking apart. So there. Okay, math on the farm. If we have any farmers here, I gotta tell you, great respect, because of the history of the English numbering system and area and size and all that. Look at those numbers down there. An acre is 640 acres to a square mile. 1 acre is 43,256, which is, if it's a square, then a square you have to know that has 208.7 feet on one side and 208.7 feet on another side. You multiply together, side times 5, to get 43,000. And so far, am I right? Anybody challenge this? That was me trying to figure it out. But just look at those numbers. Just makes you want to sell the farm and move to town, doesn't it? Just scary. I always ask the question when I flew in an airplane and looked down and I saw all these grids all over the Midwest. You've seen them, the sections, right? And they're 1 mile sections. And in 1973, I think it was, Congress voted to switch to metric. And you know, there was actually, the plan was everything was going to be metric. They actually took down the signs and put new signs up, and people were running out of gas, made no effort to learn, and enough farmers complained, and all the 1 mile sections would have to be recalculated into metric, hectares and stuff like that, and it was impossible. So we do have the metric now. We have it in medicine, we have it in sports, probably tool industry. Some of you probably work in jobs where you use metric, yeah? And we also have English, the standard customary, and we have them both. So in effect, Americans and a few others, we are bilingual or whatever, and that's a good thing. It means we have to work harder, but we can do it. Okay, farmers mix chemicals. Mrs. Gould, your farmer's wife or farmer, tell us some more about farm life. How's math on the farm?
Oh, I'll tell you something that's fascinating to me. My husband keeps telling my boys when they complain about their math, or when something's too hard. He's like, you guys, you don't have to love it, but you've got to figure out how to do it, because one thing that he has to do on a regular basis that is so over my head sometimes, I'm a visual person, so I have to sit and map it out, and Levi can just run the numbers in his head. He has to pump every acre, so we raise hogs and we pump liquid manure out of the barns and we spread it on the field for fertilizer. And so he has to calculate how fast do I drive the tractor and how many gallons are being pumped out for every, I don't even know. He has to calculate how many gallons of manure are gonna go on each acre. How fast does the tractor have to be moving? What speed is the pump set at? Because too little manure and you're not gonna have the benefit of the fertilizer, and too much, you're gonna burn the crop. And so it's fascinating to me how he can just calculate those numbers in his head. I mean, he gets his calculator out too,
Sure.
because you're talking millions and millions of gallons of liquid manure. But he's teaching the boys how to do that, and then we do our own spraying and a big sprayer. So he's got to mix the chemical, how much water to chemical ratio, and all of that has to be done, because you make a mistake and you've lost lots of money.
Thank you. That's just what I was hoping for.
I have
Yeah,
another one too. It's not farming, but my husband is a part of this year's sawmill. And in order to calculate how many boards you can get out of a log, you have to really stare at the log and figure out what your value is of the
Oh, I
log
bet,
and
yeah.
how many times you're gonna rip through it. Because each time you come through it, it's like a quarter of an inch. So
For the blade.
That's lost, yeah.
yeah.
Fascinating. I saw him.
Another aspect too, we farm, but my husband's also a farmland appraiser for Compeer. And he has to like look at the buildings, but also when you rent a farm, if you can cash flow it, you know, figuring out what the crop's worth versus how many acres, and does it cash flow, how much rent, and all that stuff.
It's powerful. And our children will inherit all of these ideas, and so we're doing them the service of getting ready for bigger and better things.
I just want to add that I had to do all kinds of math in my job as a scenic artist. And lots of people are like, art never uses math. Oh yes, we do. And you'll lose a lot of money if you don't do it right. Because I know 23 different paint systems. Some of these paint systems get so complicated that they're 3 and 4 parts, and you have to wait this much amount of time before you can add the next part, and you have to measure it on a scale before you mix it. And if you don't, a quart is $100. So you're losing a lot of money for your company if you mess that up. That's just one of them.
That's why we teach them what the taco sign means. Get this thing down.
Right?
Do you know there was a 1970 something, there was a Mars, the name of it was Mars something, but it was sent to the moon, or Mars, I can't remember. I think it was sent to the moon. And the planners used metric, and the builders used standard, and they had 2 different systems combined, and it caused the crash of this $1 million spacecraft on the moon. I think it was on the moon, but it could have been on Mars. It's probably on Mars, now that I think of it. But that really happened.
That really did. Wow.
70s, 80s, somewhere in there. You
That
can
was
look it
my
up. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to switch to science. Science, knowledge. Science is a method. Science is scary to some people. Science is a monster. Science is evil. Just depends how you look at it. There are Christians I know that think science is the devil's handmaid. And if you're that persuasion, I have to respect you. I do know there are red flags, but the heavens are still telling the glory of God. And we need to affirm what God has ordained, and that is we are to love Him with our mind, and we are to discover the wonders of His love, and part of that's creation. And from the earliest we ask questions. Why? How? What? And for survival, for food, for shelter, science is important. So science is about knowing, about wonder, curiosity, serving humanity, seeing God's hand. Science done God's way is honoring His creation mandate, Genesis 1:27, about having dominion over the earth as God's stewards. This is not my home, and I don't even own it. It's God's earth for now. I mean, it's God's earth, even though the Prince of Darkness has domain for now, but it's still God's earth, and we are to care for it. We also get to discover His revelation of how He allows us to understand the order of creation. I was going to save it for the end, but I'm going to say it now. Science the last 100 years has pretty much come to the conclusion that what's real is random, chaotic, purposeless process, and that's nature. There's no purpose, there's no meaning, there's no precision. It's just atoms bumping into each other, and with certain prediction, no doubt. Predictions of certain things will happen, but still there's no ultimate meaning or purpose behind it. And that has led to what I call fatalism. That if you take God out of the equation, well, what's going on? And the only answer is random. See, chaotic. And it has no deeper meaning than just itself. And that, I'm running out of things to say, but anybody relate to what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably hear it Sunday worship sometimes too. And we need to step up to that and say, no, our Creator, He's got to figure it out. And even though, yes, there is decay, yes, there is a process in science called entropy, which says that things are decaying from higher to lower order of usefulness. And these are just samples of things that used to be new and shiny and strong, you know, like you and me. And, and look what happened. And that's okay. God's still got it under control. Science has limitations. What we teach in class is there's something called scientism. Scientism, which science doesn't, of course, accept, but there are scientists that think that the only truth is what science gives us. That's where it gets knuckles for a fight, because no, it's God's science. There are limitations. Science is by nature skeptical, which means you just don't accept it. You got to go out there and research it. And if the evidence changes from one generation to the next, if the evidence changes, then the model trying to explain it has to change as well. That's what skeptical means. It's empirically based, which means experiment. Science does not explain, and sadly tries to explain the beginning and the end of creation. Just wait long enough, there'll be a new theory. Now the theory is, I just heard it the other day, now there is evidence that there was something before the Big Bang. Just came out the other day. They're getting closer. Science should not negate the possibility of God. While we say God was supernatural, God is also very real, and God is very present. God is a very present help in time of trouble. Yeah, we believe in the existence of God, and we see it every day. But others say, no, there's no God because there's no possible sign of Him. Science cannot say that. That's not the job of science. Science is to work within the natural realm and use natural explanations. Science does not have moral pronouncements. Science does not hold the final answer as to what is true. The science will never accumulate. You're starting to hear this more and more. I read sometime about 1908, there was a scientist that came out and said, all the knowledge that's ever going to be learned has been learned. That was a reputable scientist in the early 1900s. So what's that mean?
What ignorance.
He's dead and God's alive. Science will never accumulate all the answers to questions. No matter what happens, whenever there's an answer, there's always 10 new questions. All right, so summary on that one is, done God's way, man enjoys and explores the wide world, calls the experience science. Now, manipulatives. This happens to be something I just turned into liking it. And you got all these things up here for your kids to do. And we're doing fine on time. I showed you about entropy. I belong to something that takes care of, we measure the water, the rain, and we send it in to Colorado. And this you have to buy this, it's $40. But it's a rain gauge. And the reason it's two systems is you could just do this, but you gotta wait, and one inch of rain is gonna look like that, 1 inch. And if you want to give hundredths of an inch, which farmers like to hear, hundredths of an inch, you can't do it. So what you have to do is you have to create a catch that's 4 times the area of this. And if you use a 4 times the area, then you get to spread the scale out by a factor of 4. And so now the inch is right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Somehow my math's wrong. But this is an inch of rain. And so now you've got 100 ticks that are coming in. They're down in, it comes in like this. And remember the heavy rain we had last week? All right, we had 5.64 inches. So what we had is we have the first inch came all the way up, and then there's a spillover, and the spillway drops it down to here. And then the second inch came up to here, the third inch, fourth inch, 5 inch. We had rain, 5.6 inches of rain all the way up to here.
Wow.
And this would measure it to the nearest hundredth of an inch. That's cool. And there's a lot of guys I know that do this. And it's pretty cool to walk around. Yeah, I had 5.67 inches of rain. How do you have that? Because I measured it.
Is there a name for that particular tool?
Rain gauge?
It's not
Yeah,
like
the company-
such rain gauge or anything?
There's a company, I'd have to go research it if you want this. I don't have the answer, but there's a company that this company in Colorado that, you can go onto a website, see the United States, you can see all these little dots of 100,000 people like me, and they send it in, and that's valuable data to figure out patterns and stuff. So it's very crucial. But it's one company that sells these, and catch me later, I'll find you the answer. Okay. Anybody know where this came from? A window blinds.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
The cross pieces fit in here, like that. Okay. I saw one getting thrown out, and inspiration just flashed over my puny little brain, and I said, you know what? I teach science. What do we got here?
Yep.
Double helix. So I took it to my kids and they rolled their eyes. Don't come in here bringing us trash out of somebody else's trash can. So there's DNA. What's this?
Is that whole nail?
Yeah, it's a nail
Nail gun.
Nail gun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that coming out, and immediately I thought of replication inside a cell. Yeah, I've forgotten a lot of that stuff for 5 years, but I'll get it back, I promise. When the nucleus of the cell is trying to build a protein, the ribosome takes the information, and it's like a furnace, and it chunks away and makes these proteins, and out comes the protein, and the protein rolls itself up, and that becomes the part of the machine that's called the cell. The cell is a machine that does the work that makes all living things function. And you can explain it by saying that this is part of the DNA is a smaller scale, smaller than this, but it comes up to this size here, and then it comes out and chunks out protein. So that's what this reminded me of. They didn't roll their eyes on that one because it caught their attention. And this is pretty much the same thing. When you, and if anybody knows more than I do, if I make a mistake, jump in. Okay, I really need help sometimes. When you get proteins, the specific order of the protein determines the physical properties of that protein. All right, so everything in your body has a certain requirement for a physical function, and the protein is built a certain way, and that's what this does. That's what makes it cool. It's all about precision and order and purpose. And talk much farther, you start talking about meaning, and that's what we do in school. We try and bring out the meaning, the fullness of it, not just this is a fatalistic process. So some kid's still crying somewhere where I took this out of his hands. Okay? Anybody know what contour lines are? Contour lines? See them?
Is that driftwood?
I can't remember where I found it. I think it's pine. It's a pine bark.
It's okay.
Yeah. So I'll pass that around. The contour lines on a flat two-dimensional piece of paper show vertical elevation by the line, well, look at it this way. See the contour lines? The closer they are, the higher they are, so there you are. So I said, great idea, so I'll pass that around.
Oh, yeah, you can really see it now.
Yeah. Let's see, I think I got one last thing. I actually went through a science program and got a bachelor's in, yeah, right. Who knows what an order of magnitude is? Order of magnitude. It's a very specific meaning in science and math. I'll give you a hint. The number 10. The number 10. One order of magnitude is something is 10 times larger than something else. Like 10 is 10 times larger than 1. That's the first order. What's another order of magnitude above 10? 100. And above that?
1,000.
Right. Keep going up, right? You keep adding a 0. Right, and this is what you get to teach your kids. You take a grain of salt and you say, I'm going to teach you about size and volume and numbers by orders of magnitude. Because we use it a lot in astronomy, where the orders of magnitude are like, you know, big numbers. And then orders of magnitude down to the DNA. So we're talking about 30 orders of magnitude. Pretty cool. Anyway, one time I counted out 10,000, no. I counted out 100 grains of salt and I estimated. So I've got an estimate, 10,000 grains of salt there. Okay. Yeah, there's 1,000, there's 10,000. So 1,000 to 10,000 is one order of magnitude, right? 10,000 to 100,000 is one order of magnitude. Okay? Now, volume isn't the same as just a raw number. I mean, volume probably has a little, like, you can't say 10 times more volume. I don't quite understand it, but there's 10 times more particles of salt than there is here. Okay, and then your mind can take over with the size thing. Okay, so here's 100,000, here's 1,000,000. Again, I didn't count these, I just estimated. All right, but now in science, when we start using big numbers, we use an order of magnitude of 3 to jump quickly from 1,000, 10 to the third power, to 10 to the sixth, 1,000,000, 10 to the ninth, mega, and we use Latin prefixes, mega, 10 to the ninth, giga, 10 to the 12th, tera, and it goes right on up into the 30s. And every one of those words is at 3 orders of magnitude bigger than the one below it. So it really, and this is where it gets cool. This is 1,000,000, so an order of magnitude of 3 would be 1,000,000,000. So 3 orders of magnitude larger than this is a bathtub, I think.
Wow.
Okay, so that would be mega. I'm freezing up here.
A lot of salt.
Yeah, and then go up 3 orders of magnitude from a bathtub, and you've got this room, and the visuals start to take over.
Wow.
We're talking about size, okay, and then 3 orders of magnitude above this room would be a football stadium, all the way up to the top, and it just takes right off after that. So that's math and science, and I think the kids need that to start processing information about number, size, and volume.
Can you tell me DNA again? What is it?
What is DNA?
Yeah, in
The word-
orders of magnitude was negative 30?
10,
You have been in high school.
DNA is approximately 10 to the negative 9 meters. Now we're switching to size, Aaron.
Okay.
This is 1 meter, and if you go 9 orders of magnitude smaller than this, you have DNA. And if you go 9 orders of magnitude above this, help me out, I'm freezing up here. A billion of these is what? Halfway to the moon, maybe? Is my guess. Something like that. I'm just guessing. You can tell I get so excited I have no idea where I am. The kids love it because they're saying, yeah, if he forgets homework, we got this made. All right. look at the things there, science manipulatives in the home and yard. From my heart to yours, just this is stuff to do. This is, some people would say it's almost as important as doing the assignment of the day or homework. Maybe it's more important, we can debate that. But kids are gonna remember this. Yeah. Science in the news, there's a laser product, apparently it just took in, the laser had to use 2 megajoules of energy, and out came 3 megajoules of energy. My brain can't understand how you're making energy. Energy is supposed to be transferred from usable to less usable. I don't understand it, but it's fascinating, and I'm going to keep studying it. Okay, geometry on page 6. Pretty important, definitely in area and stuff like that, but I should have brought a map. Anybody know what the road map of Illinois is? Okay, someday your series is going to fail and you're going to wish you had a paper map. It might be a good idea to learn how to read it. Or better yet, teach your kids how to read it. Because it's math all over the place there. All right, visual arts, singing. Oh, once I learned that a cappella is a beautiful form of worshiping God. Wow, I love a cappella. You get 4 parts together. Sports. Combine math and science in one Bible verse? Yeah, sure. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Think of the possibilities of teaching. Yep, and then you can use all your drawing out ideas from classical. Let me ask you, you guys that have done this more than I have, what are some good questions that come out of this verse that cause for extended thinking?
What are our treasures in heaven?
Are we using our time wisely to store up for those treasures in heaven?
How do our treasures on earth compare to the treasures in heaven?
What are moths? What do moths eat?
Moth is a
What is
mother.
rust and how does rust work?
Moth is a mother that didn't go to the ER.
Weird.
Paper money is cloth and moth eat cloth. Let's do an experiment. Let's let cloth sit out there in the sun for a couple weeks. And do you see what I mean about money dissolving on earth?
What does it mean to destroy?
That's excellent, you guys.
Why are thieves stealing our stuff?
Mommy,
Why are there bad people in the world? Why are there thieves?
Mommy, if those people are hungry and they need it more than we do, why don't we just give it to them?
You can lead into the 10 Commandments.
On the back, just raw information from me to you, family learning day ideas that I cooked up. Your child will learn CPR faster than you will, probably. I'd recommend it.
I just got certified in CPR 3 days ago.
Can you find an instructor for us?
No, it was online.
Okay. A day trip to Bentonsport. We're talking about a county over in Burlington, west of Burlington, that has no traffic signal lights in the whole county. And in the fall with the leaves, it's beautiful. And people are just old-fashioned. They have all kinds of artisans that forge steel and make craft pottery, arts. You gotta go.
Tell me about it again.
Bentonsport, right there. You can just Google it. Just
That's,
check it out.
you told me about that the other day.
Wait till the fall. Just go in October. It's worth it. You can just turn the kids loose, pick them up 8 hours, and you're all set. It's great. They're not going anywhere. What did I leave out? Anybody that's got some science or math, tell me? Yes, ma'am.
I think it's really important, and she kind of makes a point that, and I've thought this for a long time, it's failing the schools just in general. There needs to be a steady flow of professionals in the different areas coming here, and the kids meeting them, not just for what are the possibilities for us after school, but finding out why all of this is being studied. There's so many people with different backgrounds that can speak to, you know, in our household alone, we can say, well, you need it because of this and this and this, and then it becomes a deaf ear. But then hearing, oh my goodness, there's another career that it's being used in this way, or another career in which it's being used in that way, is invaluable.